You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bringing up to the starting line of a race, and then say, you are free to compete with all the others, and still justly believe that you have been completely fair.
That was Lyndon Johnson during his 1965 commencement address at Howard University at the beginning of the movement of many colleges towards affirmative action plans. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of my new podcast, Foundations of Society. My name is Martha Penny, and today we will be discussing a hot topic that is particularly relevant to college students like myself. Our question for today is, are affirmative action policies implemented by colleges racist? Now, this may seem like a confusing question. How can a program that is meant to undo institutionalized racism be racist if all it's doing is offering students of different backgrounds equal opportunities? To start off, let's all get on the same page with the definition of affirmative action. Jonathan Stubbs, a professor at University of Richmond, defines affirmative action as policy designed to ensure that each person has the resources available to achieve his or her maximum potential. Evidence of such potential is fairly evaluated, and valuable societal goods are made available to qualified individuals in a more representative fashion. To colleges, this measure is a means to creating a more diverse and inclusive student body, as well as providing opportunities to students who might not have otherwise had access to educational resources. Since President Johnson gave his commencement address, many schools began to implement affirmative action policies. This was both to offer equal opportunities and to increase campus diversity to benefit the entire student population. However, in the 90s, there was a string of court cases and states' banning of affirmative action in public schools. In 1996, the case Hopewood v. Texas was brought to the Fifth Circuit, claiming that campus diversification is not reason enough to implement affirmative action policies in schools, and that the only acceptable reason is to undo the effects of past discrimination. Though this does not discredit all forms of such policies, Texas proceeded to ban the consideration of racial background in admission to its public schools. As ruled in Hopewood v. Texas, using affirmative action simply for the purpose of proving to media outlets and potential applicants that the school is not racist is not right. This is an example of impression management where institutions are simply tacking a sign over their door that boasts a certain number of Black, poor, handicapped, or other underrepresented students. They are trying desperately to maintain their status as reputable institutions in our modern society where people are beginning to care more about these social issues. This perspective is called the theory of self-interest conversions, and as discussed in an article about White's strategic support of affirmative action, it can be defined as all actions taken by the dominant group, even those that appear to be driven by a sense of moral propriety, are designed to serve the dominant group's material interest. When a white student in a majority white history seminar sees a Black student enter the lecture hall, they may think to themselves, "Ah yes, affirmative action at its finest." Certainly aware of this impression, the Black student may begin to doubt themselves and experience the looking-glass self-effect. They ignore the real and valid merits that got them into that school and instead view themselves as other students view them, beneficiaries of affirmative action. There are two models that drive the two sides of the argument for or against affirmative action. These scenarios are presented in Archidiacono and Lovenheim's article on quality fit in the college system and presents the mismatch hypothesis. The first scenario presents College A, a prestigious and selective school that benefits all students that attend regardless of previous academic preparation. This model supports affirmative action and argues that all students should have a chance at attending College A. The second model presents College B, a less intensive institution with a higher acceptance rate, which benefits the less prepared students and meets them where they are in their pre-existing educational knowledge, while College A would be too challenging and unforgiving to the less prepared students. This scenario suggests that affirmative action will lead students to attend colleges that do not fit their academic needs and will lead to negative outcomes when they do not find success. This mismatch hypothesis is not the only argument against affirmative action, but it does make me question whether the issue lies in the segregation of universities that follow the divided student test scores. Perhaps instead of opening admission into these top-tier universities to underrepresented students in order to fulfill quotas and satisfy complaints of racism, we need to focus on the root of the issue, improving the public school system before the students enter college. Overall, this is a very complicated and divisive issue. While there are some students that rely on affirmative action's holistic review process, there are other students, usually wealthy white ones, who don't see these policies as fair. While some colleges claim their motivations as undoing institutionalized racism, others openly admit to using affirmative action to simply raise diversity levels for their own gain. Overall, I believe that these policies are based on the selfish desires of colleges, and I generally agree with Chow, Lowry, and Hogan in their argument that white-run institutions are only acting in their own self-interest. Therefore, in conclusion, I do believe that affirmative action is in fact racist. Thank you so much for listening to my first podcast, and I'll catch you next time on Foundations of Society.